Simon Juden, Chief Executive of the Publishers Association. Welcome to the London Book Fair podcast. Tell me a little about your work here at the PA. You've been here 3 years now?
3 years. This coming book fair will be my third anniversary, as it were. So.
Do you feel you've learned everything? There's sort of way to go.
Oh goodness, no! I've got a long way to go. There's a steep learning curve, and I'm up some of it at this stage.
How on a year-round basis does the Publishers Association work with the London Book Fair?
Well, book fair is a very, very important part of the landscape for UK publishing. From our perspective, it's a tremendously useful showcase for the publishing sector and the work that the sector does. So it's very, very useful for us to be able to bring politicians to book fair and to work with book fair in terms of getting some messages about the industry enunciated and made clear during the course of the event. We also have a brand called UK Publishing with which we partner with the book fair, and this involves taking publishers to different book fairs throughout the world around the year.
Now, London Book Fair 2010, of course, the market-focused country of South Africa. There are a lot of interesting possibilities for dialogue and reciprocal publishing arrangements between our two countries, I imagine.
Well, there certainly are. There are certainly some wonderful South African voices that deserve a broader audience, and we very much hope those kind of deals can happen at book fair. But more broadly, South Africa is a fascinating market in terms of the way that literacy is really booming and increasing, and the ways of reaching out into townships, into areas where there isn't necessarily a written tradition, there's more of an oral tradition. There's the issue of the languages. A lot of publishing in South Africa just now is, of course, in English and Afrikaans, whereas there are actually a lot more official languages over there. So there's a question of making our works accessible to audiences in South Africa, and also working out different ways of reaching out and expanding not just functional literacy, but an actual love of reading. And really pushing that into various different areas within South Africa.
From where you sit, what are the challenges that you think will be grappled with at Earl's Court over the next 3 days?
Well, as ever, I mean, the fair is preceded by a one-day digital conference, and the migration of revenue to digital is absolutely front and centre, I think, in lots of people's minds, not just in terms of what that means in terms of new technologies like ebooks and so on. There are all kinds of commercial issues, ranging from things arising from the Google Book settlement, the introduction of the iPad. We've touched on the agency model for Amazon, but other different business models which are beginning to emerge now in terms of bringing content out to different people. I think it's fair to say that some of what's happened around ebook publishing has seemed quite conservative to date. It's almost like taking a book and having it just like a book but on a computer. Whereas actually I think the future is about much more than that. It's about reaching out to and engaging with new audiences in new ways, as well as the audiences we already engage with. And I think we're just now starting to see the kind of innovation and experimentation that's being driven in part by what the platforms can now do. You look at the iPad, it's a much more rich platform in terms of functionality and things that are available than the platforms that have been available hitherto, and publishers are certainly responding to that in terms of content and products that they're producing for those. So I actually think it's a bit of a watershed book fair, this one, because some of the products we're starting to see are really starting to go beyond what traditionally a book would have been and what an ebook has been, to explore different ways of communicating with different people.
We've just talked about the opportunities of digital technology. Do you think in South Africa, for example, where many people can't afford to buy traditional books, we'll see much more downloading of books on mobile phones because that's the technology people have? Or we need to leapfrog over the book, perhaps?
In some countries that's absolutely the case. You go into certain Asian markets, not just China but Japan, there are whole genres which are emerging specifically written for the mobile phone. So again, you can start in a traditional place with a Dickens-style model of a chapter at a time or whatever, or you can go to genres one might associate with Asia like manga and so on. But actually there are new genres emerging which are specifically designed around devices that people have in those markets. So again, as technology comes, and affordable technology comes to regions like South Africa, again, I think you're absolutely right. There'll be new forms which emerge which suit those markets and those people in particular.
Talk about the Chairman's Breakfast and the Lifetime Achievement Award. You've been associated with both for quite some time now. Why did you choose to sponsor them?
Well, the Chairman's Breakfast is a really great showcase, not only of the market focus, but of the industry. And it's a real opportunity for us to make sure that policymakers and those others engaged in public debates around the creative and content sector in general actually get to sort of see, touch, taste and smell the book trade. We're the biggest media sector publishing. And if you come to the right stream at the London Book Fair, you'll see £1 billion worth of UK exports actually happening right there before your eyes. And to take politicians and civil servants around and show them that and introduce them to the people who are doing it, is tremendously important. And the Chairman's Breakfast is a big, it's a set-piece showcase, if you like, but it's also a really good opportunity to get key senior people from the policy world and key senior people from our sector together and discuss informally over a breakfast the issues of mutual concern.
Are they sometimes surprised by what they see in the scale of it?
I think so sometimes. I mean, some ministers, I won't name names, but some ministers, it almost has a physical effect on them, sort of standing over and seeing the breadth and the diversity of what actually goes on at Book Fair. It's an amazing thing.
And what about Lifetime Achievement?
The Lifetime Achievement Award, I think, is actually terrifically important. It is arguable that our industry is overserved by awards, and we should have a sort of carbon reduction commitment of 10% fewer awards by 2015 or some such. But actually I think the Lifetime Achievement Award is one of the more important because it tends to celebrate the otherwise unsung, and it tends to take people who are legends, who are well known by anyone in the book trade and the publishing business, and give them the recognition that they so richly deserve.
Simon Juden, thank you very much indeed.
Pleasure.